Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. It's a little impromptu. I appreciate everybody being here tonight on short notice. Get my mic here. Sorry about that. So, Madam Clerk, if you would take the roll call.
Certainly. Mr. Braun?
Present.
Ms. Pace-Snook? Present. Ms. Reclue? Present. Ms. Sabacher? Here. Mr. Shiverdecker?
Here.
Mr. Simmons?
Present.
Mr. Stone? Present. And Mr. Washington?
Here.
8 council members present.
Very good. And of course, tonight we're here about the impending sort of financial disaster that we're facing with our gas prices and even electric now. So this is a very big deal. We're going to get an update, I guess, from who are we going to hear from?
Well, I just kind of want to, you know what, this is a special meeting. I really don't see any action taking place or being carried out tonight. But we just, anytime that, that we just decide to spend an extra $500,000 or $700,000 a day, I thought, I'd kind of like to get the city council together and bring you up to speed on that situation. There's really nothing that any of us could do about it, but we wanted to let you know and explain to you how we kind of got to where we are and where we are going as far as we know. There's a lot of things we don't know. There's a lot of things that we're learning as we go. We've had 3 Zoom calls today. I think Daryl's had one, at least probably one more than I've had today. There's lots of calculations. There's lots of speculation. There's just so many ways you could use this information that we are gathering and creating to make the presentation. So I'm going to let Daryl and Kathy's going to give the most of the presentation tonight so I'm going to ask one of them to come up. I think they've kind of coordinated together a little bit.
Come up together. That way, if there's any questions, one can answer better than the other. We'll start. Do thank everybody for being here. It's hard to communicate everything you need to in a text or an email or short phone call. So we got a little presentation we're going to start with. It's February 13th till we don't quite know when yet. Here's what we did to start with. Back in January, we made the decision what to do with February. How we have done it and how IMGA does it for us is they take the 5-year average for February gas usage, and that's what we start with. Well, we had long-term contracts for 40,000 of it at $4.56, and on the 13th, we instructed IMGA to purchase the remaining 51,000 at the first of the month price, which was $2.45. Don't take any of it to daily. Go ahead and fill that contract. So that's where we started.
Which is significant because every month we get an email from IMGA of here's how much you have fixed, how much do you want us to take us to the pre-market to the first of the month, and how much you just want to have to go to cash. And it's based on, sometimes there's a pretty good split between or a swing between first of month price and the cash price. So we might say, let's put half of it in the first of the month, and then let's take half of it to the cash daily price. Just to but fortunately for us, this month we said take it all to the first of the month price rather than or we could have been having another 26,000 at the spot price. So we did good in this situation.
As you can see, this is like February 11th. Okay, it's starting to get cold. Panhandle did jump up to, I believe that's $6.30. So really nothing out of the ordinary had happened yet. Everything, okay, it's getting cold, gas prices came up some, no big deal. And then the next day, spot markets go to $600. So that's how fast the price spike was. One day we're doing pretty good. The next day you're calling people in off vacation going, hey, we've got a problem. Then Sunday, Kansas the governor of Kansas issued their declaration. So Sunday, it's getting worse. Okay, this is on the electric side, just to kind of give a flavor of how widespread this problem is. This is the SPP. We're in MISO over here. But SPP basically goes from the Canadian border down into Texas, and then ERCOT picks up down in here. This is Sunday. Everything's $2,000 a megawatt or greater.
How much is it usually?
Last Sunday, it was probably around 40 bucks. Here's MISO. MISO is where we're at.
Daryl, you got to talk into the microphone.
MISO was doing better. MISO, as far as I know, didn't have any rolling blackouts. I think everybody see on the newscast where the SPP did have rolling blackouts in the Kansas City, Independence, Springfield areas, and on into Kansas and Oklahoma. Okay, this is one of the price nodes in SPP, and you can see it was at $2,000. This is going to be difficult, but we're going to get through it. Okay, this is Prairie State Unit number 1. That's our part of that shaft. Here's Prairie State Unit number 2. That's our shaft. And then here's Sykeston. Whoops. Sykeston. And then here's our hydro coming in. And as you'll look, this is on the 12th. You know, all settled out, we was either making a little bit of money per hour, we was losing a little bit of money. And you'll see these real-time 66, 44, everything looks normal. And that takes us down through the 11th. Now, if you're looking at the 15th, first of all, Prairie State dropped offline. Number 1 did. So we've lost it. So we got to pay the market back for it. And then we're seeing these high dollars over here per hour. That was Sunday. Prairie State came back for a while last night, and it kicked off again this morning. So yesterday, we do have a turbine. It is dual fuel. Well, we can't run gas at $224. So we tried several times to start it on diesel yesterday. It'd get about halfway up, kick out. So late yesterday, we started on gas, and then we went to diesel, and it ran 2 minutes, low fuel pressure. The fuel was just too cold. Today, we started it on liquid. It went online, and it produced 18 megawatts for an hour. So just that 10 degrees meant a lot to that unit. I mean, it was, y'all was here yesterday, it was -1, and wind was blowing everywhere. But that, and then here's what we got on the 13th for your pipe prices. We're on Panhandle. There's the 225. But as you can see, it's not just Panhandle. All these pipes, all these transmission pipes are high. The only one that's not, and I don't know where Texas Eastern is, but those folks are doing good. So in saying all that, I'm trying to say it's a mid-continent problem. It's not just a Fulton problem. And I've heard, you know, from my friends and stuff, it's been cold before. Yes, it has. We had the polar vortex of January of 2014. We used, on the 6th of January of that year, 9,100 units. Ours on the 15th was 7,300. So we did not set a record. The first of the month price in January of 14 was $4.27. First of the month price for February 2021 was $2.45. The highest price in January of 2014 was $5.63, and you can see our highest price is $2.24. So SPP did put out a statement recapping everything that happened in that area on the electric side. And then what we've talked about today, and I'll let Mr. Johnson talk a little more about it, is there is the Natural Gas Policy Act. Some of our attorneys have been a hold of FERC. FERC does not have any jurisdiction over the wellhead. That would have to come from the president. And we've asked our representatives to ask for a 10-day freeze that's probably a poor word to use right now.
10-day freeze at $20 a decatherm,
$20.
which is a record, other than this, rather than this time frame, $20 would be a record high for the market. The last record was $12 or $14. So this would be a significant premium over the previous high level. But do it for 10 days, and they said within 10 days the weather's going to have passed, and hopefully everything get back to normal. But as I understand it, that's going to have to come from the president.
That's what we understand. And notice we do have two utility board members here, John Bell and Charlie. And I think both of them was on, I know they were on the U board back 15 years ago, and we was paying, $9, $10, and we thought that was, horrible.
Crazy.
But, so,
It's off the charts.
off the charts, yes. We're in, so we're trying to estimate how much we'll be using in this cold weather. And then IMGA is trying to procure that for us because we got to stay within our bounds of how much we ask for each day. And I think Kathy's going to talk about some money.
Yeah, real quick, the 91,000 that we normally ask, we normally go to market for and set the prices going. What's our usual? Where are we at right now?
What do you mean? I'm sorry.
The usage.
The usage?
We
70.
bought the 91,000 at set prices, but where are we?
I don't know if this is going to answer your question, but they divided up the first of the contracted in the first of the month in order to meet our obligation for the past 4 days. They purchased about another 3,000 a day. That is purely temperature driven. If
Yeah.
this had been a normal month, what was purchased would have been very close to the amount required.
I guess in simplistic terms, we've already used up that 91,000 and we paid it that price.
Yes, this is for the extra. This is, if you divide that out, it's, 3,200 units per day, something like that. And so, naturally, we was short.
And then not to,
So we'll be paying market price for the rest of the month if we've already used that.
We're using so much, we're using that 3,200 a day.
Yeah, they
So
give us-
That's per day, so we got to make up whatever's over that. If it's a 6,000 unit day or it's a 5,500 unit day.
Okay, so it's divided out by the day,
yes,
sir.
so if usage spikes each day.
yes.
Yes,
We're paying above 4. So we've got 3,200, we paid that $2 or whatever for tomorrow is what's above.
it's what's above that.
Thank you.
Yes.
I thought we'd run through the 91,000 and now we're
No.
on the month. We wouldn't have.
No, it was divided up, and then you got hourly maxes, and I think yesterday we was at 401 or something like that as our max, and we was like 323. We've been staying under our hours.
Good.
We're just using a lot over the whole 24-hour periods because of the weather.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
So there, on that, off the 3,200, did you say a number that I just missed, what our average was? I see the 7336 for the 15th, but is there an average number that we're going over at this point?
Can you ask the question again?
What is the average decatherms that we're using per day as of this point in the month? What is our average? Not counting the 3,200 that we've already purchased, just the average decatherms.
I guess we could find that number, but we don't have that number.
Well, isn't that what the IMGA purchased for us? That was the 75%?
But I think he's wanting to go back to the first of the month.
Yeah, but we go over like a 5-year average though, right?
Right. They bought the 5-year average. We bought the 5-year
Right, and that
average.
5-year average is
You
what?
understand what I'm asking, Kathy?
Is 91,000.
Okay,
And then you divide by 28.
Right.
so,
On the slide where you compared this to 2014, you showed that we had that day usage was at 7,300.
on, in,
On that slide where you compare this to 2014, if you go to that, that's what John is speaking to. So we
That
were
was a
73,
single day average.
36, single day.
That was for the 15th of this month. 9102 was the
Right.
6th of January in 2014.
But,
So if I look,
the average from the first through the 16th.
to know what the decatherms over and above the 3,200 are.
yeah, we can get that. It should be the average of the 5 years. That's what, so there's
So-
gonna be warmer days during the month to
Right.
where we probably had too much coming in, and then we put it into the pipe between here and Hatton, and that goes into a bank. It's a plus bank, and then if we overdraw the next day, we pull it back out. So we got a little bit of a swing that it settles into.
so it's what, 91,000 was what they purchased for the month, and you just divide that by 28, right?
Right, that's their base.
Yeah, that's what,
It's kind of a
that's what they
block
thought was the average that we've used over the last 5 years for February.
Correct.
Yeah.
Is that what you're looking for?
At this point, we're using more than that.
Right.
What is the difference between what we're using today versus what we normally would? The 3,200 decatherms per day,
She bought 3,071 more units
today alone.
for each day of those
Each
4
day.
days.
Okay, okay. That's exactly what I'm looking for, 3,000, 3,100.
Per day
3,100.
Yeah, she bought about 12,000 for that 4-day block.
versus 2,000 as a normal
About
usage.
almost double of our average.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other problem was Friday you had to buy for Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday.
Right.
Because Monday was a holiday. So you had that 4-day stretch that was all at that price because that's how the market closed.
Thank you, Darrell. Hey, and also I appreciate you working through the weekend. Because I know I was receiving texts and emails all through the weekend, and I appreciate it.
Just to tell you where we are money-wise, Friday, when Bill called me and said, what's our reserves in the gas fund? It was at $5 million. We spent about $700,000 a day for that 3,071 decatherms, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, which came to 2.8 million, and it brought our reserves down to 2.2. The cost for tomorrow, the usage and the price have gone down. I think it went from 224 to 132,
Correct.
and from 3,100, 3,071 to 28 something.
2,800.
Yeah, 2,800. So that cost is projected to be $364,000.
For one day additional.
It's tomorrow. So that will bring us to 1.836, and what happens after tomorrow remains to be seen. That's the big question.
So we're also drawing down reserves for electric, right?
Yes.
Yes, we will be.
Yeah.
Yes, but it's not that magnitude.
It's not,
Right,
it's not
right.
the big dollar amounts of here.
It's 140,000 so far.
I know the weather forecast is improving from now on, but I don't know the supply availability from the wellheads.
We don't know when the wellheads will thaw.
Right.
And we've asked that question to several people today and really did not get a good answer. I mean, obviously, if it's above 32, they're going to thaw. But that's really the only information we have on that.
Kathy, currently in gas reserve, you said 1.8 million. If the price stays stable, stays where it's at for tomorrow, or for today, whatever that $143 was, we've got about 5 days worth left in reserve. Financially, what do we do after that point? We depleted the rest of
Gas
that
fund
reserve.
reserves,
What's the steps?
we'd have several options. We could try and borrow money from the electric fund. and pay it back over time. Obviously, there are not customers who can pay those absorption prices, so that's not an option. We just have to slowly build those up and draw the money from other funds. That's all we could do.
How long has it taken us to get our gas reserves up to 5 million? And how long do you think that we'll be able to replace those funds?
I would say that 5, it's fluctuated from 5 to 6.5 for a long, long time.
It's probably taken us 10 years, 12 years to get there, but there are years that we might put 300,000 in the reserves. There might be years where we take 200,000 out.
We don't normally have to take out 2 million at a time.
Oh, we've
Yeah.
never, ever taken
I've never
out.
seen a hit like this.
But it's kind of the buffer. Most years we put in money, but if we're going to do a big project or do something, we might take money out for capital expenditure.
Right.
But it's probably been 10 or 12 years to get to 5 million.
So it's going to take us a while to get back up.
Yeah, this won't happen.
And provided that we don't get reimbursed federally or by state funds, the gas prices would have to increase to even think about, replacing those reserves. Am I correct?
Within any reasonable amount of time. Because right now, just to give you an example, and Daryl's, correct me if I'm wrong, City of Fulton does about 700,000 decatherms a year to our customers. 700,000. Okay? Well, that's how much we were paying additional. We're paying additional $700,000 a day. So if we raised the rate to the consumer by $1 a unit, that would generate $700,000 a year for the reserves. So to get back to where we were a week ago would be 3 years before we got, if we raised it $1. I'm not proposing that, I'm not saying anything, but it's just to clarify a question that was raised on the table. What would happen if we raised rates or wanted to raise rates to get back to the level we had in reserves?
Fortunately, we're one of the cities that's been prepared for this, and a lot of cities aren't right now. They're actually having to borrow money to pay their gas bills, so we're very fortunate that we've been conservative, and it's probably a good lesson to all of us to always try to stay that way.
On one of those Zoom calls we've been on, there was a couple towns that just said, we're not going to be able to pay their bill from those last 4 days, let alone anything going forward, and that they were going to have to go to the bank and get a loan. So I think it says quite a bit to the financial and the utilities leadership of this community that we have the money in the bank in reserves to cover this crazy swing in prices.
You talk a lot about the usage on the city level, 700,000 additional decatherms on an annual basis. Can you kind of give me an idea of what an average household uses?
An average? That's a great question. Thank you for asking.
I'm all electric, so I have no idea.
An average household, uses about 1 decatherm of natural gas per day to heat their home. Okay? Even Macon estimated it at 1.5 decatherms a day. And I thought, well, at least we're in the same ballpark. But we estimated it about 1 decatherm, so it's pretty much for you're all electrics. You're a bad example. But if you have a gas-fired furnace, the city basically spent $225 yesterday and today to buy the natural gas to keep your house warm.
Thank you.
And here's where it gets even better. And currently, we're going to turn around and we're going to charge you less than $9 for that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Delivered to your house. So.
Hey, Bill, what about, that's the household, what about businesses that use a lot of gas, like a potato chip factory? They use a lot of natural gas. What's the consumption of usage at places like that?
Oh, some of those places can use a couple hundred a day or more.
Now, if there's a cost, will they be paying more than an average household, or will they pay
We have the same unit price for all customers of natural gas in the city,
So regardless if it's a business or household?
regardless if it's a business or a household. It's the same cost per unit. And it's the same cost per unit for the first unit or the 500th, 300th unit, for the last unit. It's all the same rate.
But didn't Backer voluntarily shut down?
Backer has been, we've been in communication with Backers for many times over the past few days. They're an awesome corporate citizen. They were showing a great willingness to shut down and not to cook and that kind of thing. But they had potatoes coming.
Okay.
And so you need to make a decision. Are we going to ask them to shut down and lose 10 loads of potatoes? Or are we going to let them go ahead and cook? And so they're just doing a partial run tomorrow.
Okay.
But Backers probably had 5 phone calls from them.
Yeah, at least. Backers has been great.
Backers has just really cared, has wanted to work with us to do the right thing.
Thank you.
And on the 225 or the 224, that does not include transportation. That is strictly the wellhead decatherm, correct?
That is correct.
So there's extra cost that's involved above and beyond what you're seeing there.
Yes.
Wasn't that the $9 panhandle charge that you were showing?
Yes.
No.
No.
No, that was something else?
No, we didn't
Okay,
show any transportation charges.
okay.
What kind of time frame are we looking at as far as asking our legislators and asking for that relief? How long do we have that option? How long can we continue to ask, and what kind of time frame are they usually on?
We have, unfortunately, the people we're working with is government. And this was a holiday weekend. So we began making phone calls on Friday and Saturday and Sunday and Monday, and left many voice messages on many elected officials' phone systems due to it being a holiday weekend. Although yesterday, I think a lot of them must have been, showed up to the office or something, because yesterday I got return phone calls from several, and with showing a willingness. One thing, I don't know how all this works, but I was told that hopefully we'll get a presidential declaration of emergency. And I think that's going to then allow us to be eligible for some low-interest loans and grants. I mean, if you look at this as being a natural disaster, this is cold. In the world of natural disasters, is any difference than a hurricane in Florida, or a flood in Louisiana, or a fire in California? All of these events are out of the people's controls whose life it affects, whose pocketbook it affects. So we are kind of looking at this being a natural disaster. But kind of one thing I've heard is before the president will declare your state a disaster or disaster area, that your governor has to do it first. And we haven't been able to make great contact with the governor's office yet to get that process rolling.
Officially, state offices were also closed today.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's probably another.
I will say that I personally emailed Riddle, Luke DeMeyer, and Fitzwater. They all 3 responded. Not anything direct, but they did respond, and they are aware of the situation. And they're trying to work towards the goal.
What was the MPUA focus?
I'm sorry. Is he talking to me? I didn't hear you, Bill.
Well, at noon, roughly noon, we had a conference call with some senators' staff, with some other cities and MPUA on the phone, trying to urge them of how bad things were. And as I said, there's another city on the phone with us. and they was gonna go talk to the senator. It was his staff we was talking to, it was not the senator. But we was on the phone probably close to an hour at noon today with Washington.
Well, that's just, I mean, it was Senator Blunt's office. And they showed some interest and they showed concern and they understood. And, you know, I guess fortunately or unfortunately, this is not a Fulton issue and it's not a Missouri issue. It's a Midwest issue. So the people are going to see the senators from Illinois. And people are going to see, getting hold of their senators from Iowa and Kansas and Oklahoma. And soon there could very easily be a coalition of senators from North Dakota to Texas, right down the middle of the country, of thinking, okay, we need to do this as a disaster and get some financial relief to these communities. Guys, there's no way we could pass this cost on to the consumer. There's just no way.
My gas bill personally would go to about $9,000 a month.
Well, the crust of the
I'd be
meeting at noon,
bankrupt very quickly.
the crust of the meeting at noon was to educate them on that National Gas Policy Act of '78. And the attorney from MPUA did tell the staff that he already reached out to FERC. But FERC's not over the wellheads. FERC's just over the pipe. So FERC can't give any relief is what we understand. It has to come through this federal level, this NGPA of '78.
Well, thank you guys all for coming. I think we've got a lot more information now than we did 30 minutes ago. We appreciate that. And I'm sure over the next days, we'll be getting information out to you all as soon as possible, as well as the citizens. And yeah, this is a problem that it's going to take some time to fix it, sounds like, so.
And then we have another city council meeting a week from tonight. Obviously, this is going to be an item of discussion. It's possible there'll be an ordinance on there to discuss, rates or if we need to. But hopefully by this time next week, the weather will have warmed up and we'll be back to hopefully somewhat normal. But MPUA was talking about price gouging, and they're looking at it as almost being a criminal thing from some of the vendors and the suppliers. They compared it to, if a hurricane's coming and the gas station took their gasoline to $1,000 a gallon, well, people would get pretty excited and pretty nervous over that, and something would be done about it. Well, there's really nothing different in this situation. It's the cold snap coming, the natural gas. There's been some natural gas for $1,000 a decatherm. I don't want to say I feel fortunate that we got by at 225, and we're going to get by at 132 tomorrow, but it could be so much worse.
I have a neighbor who has her daughter called. They asked them, she lives in Texas, they asked her to turn her gas off, or heat off for an hour, and they were staying in different little towns and having to turn it off at certain times. And that's just happened today, and that was in Texas.
On the city's Facebook page, we're going to put some of the elected officials' addresses and stuff, and I think we've talked about putting a letter out there someplace too, that if a citizen wanted to download a letter and email it off to an elected official, put their name on it and send it off. We need to let these elected officials know that it's not just affecting the cities, it's affecting real people. It's affecting people in their homes.
And Mr. Mayor, I'm gonna put it on my prayer list for warmer weather.
That's what we really need, sir.
Yeah.
So,
You're going to the right place.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So I think on that note, we'll call it an evening here. Oh, you got one question?
Just
here?
one comment. The city of Fulton really doesn't have an emergency shelter. And it got pretty doggone cold over the weekend. It doesn't look like it's gonna get cold this bad again, but we've got this nice big rec center that's gonna come online in a month or two. And maybe we need to think about using it as an emergency shelter if this happens next year or the year after. But obviously, it's not something we want to look at immediately, but look at over the next 9 months or so as using it as a shelter.
Okay.
We can add that to the agenda maybe for next week.
I don't really see us
For August.
just
I think.
doing it.
Probably not gonna happen until next year anyway, but yeah,
Yeah.
we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Appreciate that. All right.
You need a motion, Mr. Reed.
I do. Yeah.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Thank you again, everybody.